Today is the last day of this decade. BMS here for the first time in probably months since I've shot a video, presented it to the world. It's good, it's good, it's good. So, how are you? How's everybody doing on this New Year's Eve 2019-2020 deal? What the hell are you going to say? 2019 was what for me? 2019 was a lot for me. 2019 was a lot. A lot of stuff happened for me, 2019. I learned a lot about myself in 2019. I was exposed to new things in 2019. I've grown a little bit in 2019 in different ways than in years past, if that makes any sense. 2019 was a year for me of kind of being alone. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just needed to kind of be alone so I could understand what it was that I was feeling and to learn how to process that in a beneficial way moving forward. You got that? Because I don't know that I did. Not like a good cup of coffee, though, I tell you. Yeah. So yeah, that was 2019 for me. I learned some new things about myself. I've also was subjected to some things that have always been kind of a struggle for me. Just because I was mainly by myself a lot. I don't dislike being by myself. I've always been a person that kind of likes to do things on my own. However, along with that comes a little bit of loneliness. There are times that I would have liked to look over and have a friend or a partner. A partner would have been great. Or just someone in general. 2019 was a year of not a lot of that for me, and that's okay. But it does it does suck sometimes. Again, as much as I do like to be alone, I enjoy having someone there as well. Romantically for sure, but just a friend to connect with. And there was that this year, but there was more of not that this year, and it was difficult for me at times, but it was a good year all in all. I went out to California this summer, saw some of my old friends that were in my life in my years out there, had some great conversations with people out there. And I walked away from that really kind of like, what does that all mean? Those conversations, a lot of time to think this year when you're by yourself, and I did a lot of connection with nature this year. I did that before in years past, but it really wasn't my thing. Maybe this year or in general, I'm in my 40s now, early 40s, 41 years old, and I'm starting to really have different things kind of fill me up, if that makes sense. Being outside in nature is one of them. I spent many afternoons just in Jacobsburg Park walking around on a nice summer day with a breeze blowing. I did a lot of that this year. And I always do that. That's my thing. I would always jump in my car when the weather was nice and just put the windows down, take a ride, stop somewhere, have a cup of coffee, and just kind of connect with, yourself, connect with the universe, connect with God. Um, that's a good topic to talk about, God. Where's Brian with that? I don't really know where Brian is with that. When I was out west, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and he asked me just that, where are you? What's been going on? These are guys I knew out there again, but many of them are from a church that I served at and with out there. So they're Christian guys. And the past little spiritual community I was part of was different. It was the conversations we had were very theological, and we really broke down stories of scripture and talked about them in different ways. It was just, that's the only way I can put it. It was just different. Wasn't your typical church service. I mean, there was worship and all that. It was small, very small. It was a very small group, very intimate group. But our conversations were different, and we talked about really kind of in-depth, gritty stuff, and I liked it. It was a brief season. That little church, I think we were almost 2.5, 3 years, I think, and it kind of dissolved and went away. But it was cool. It was just it was a season, and I got a lot out of it. I made a lot of great relationships with some people. But back to that conversation with my friend out west, it's just, I don't really know where I am with God. It's just, my relationship is just different. And I was a Christian, I identified with a Christian for a very long time. But in doing so, I felt like I just felt a little bit different, if that makes any sense. A lot of things resonated with me. I heard a lot of great speakers, went to a lot of great church services. Read a lot of great books from Christian authors, and that stuff really helped me to identify with who I am as a person. It taught me how to let go of some things, and it taught me how to love without looking at people who are different and with this mindset like, oh, that's wrong, this is the way it should be done, and this is why your life is X, Y, or Z, is because of blah blah blah. And I don't really know. You interact with those people who are Christian, and they hear you in conversation, but I feel like in the back of their mind they're thinking, well, you're sinning and you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that, and blah blah blah. And some people openly say that, but that's a whole nother conversation. But there was a lot about Christianity that I really liked. It was I got a lot of, I felt really good, being able to identify with who I am. So I don't really know. I don't really know how I feel with all that now. This is like the biggest thing of 2019 for me, is to try to figure out, where are you spiritually? I mean, what does all that mean? I feel different. The past couple of years of life. Now, let me just say, I'm not saying that I disagree with the things I used to believe in before or practice before. Everything is still there, but I feel like there's just been more that added to that. It's like that was a good start for me. But the past few years, there has been things I've been able to identify with that are very intriguing to me and interesting to me, because of the previous 10 years of my life being a Christian, and I felt like it helped me to really understand and to see things in a way that helped me to want to understand them more. That was a really freaking long sentence, but yeah, it's just I don't really know where I am spiritually now. I do know that I'm really enjoying connecting with things that I didn't before. Just being out in nature is a big one for me now. I think it's the second time I said that. Yeah. Different. I feel like I'm in I feel like I'm in an in-between state of life. Spiritually, it is one. It's not any worse. It's not any better per se. It's just different. I'm feeling things differently now. I'm identifying with things a little bit differently now, and that just may be with age. I don't know. But I do know that I am thoroughly enjoying it because there's things that are fulfilling me now that wouldn't have a couple years ago. And that's it's really enlightening to have these experiences. I do know that I seem to be carrying a lot less weight now on my shoulders spiritually. If that makes any sense at all, I don't know. Kind of stuck in conversation with this right now, but that's one thing 2019 brought me, was just a little bit of a different spiritual experience. Don't really know where that's going to go moving forward in the new decade of 2020, but it's interesting, and I'm curious to see what doors and opportunities and connections I'll have moving forward with that. Another one is I've always had, and I had a conversation with a friend of mine at Cigars International a couple nights ago about this specific topic. You know, for the longest time, Brian, speak about myself in the third person, was always a bit of a fitness junkie, and that's something I always enjoyed. Moved out west and I got into fitness, came back here. I told that story a million times. It was always something I had that was just my thing, was really resonated with me. It really filled me up. A couple of years ago, wow, it's going to be 2 years. This spring it'll be 2 years since I changed my nutritional intake. I changed a lot of things up, and as a result of that, I had to change my training a bit. So my training for the past few years, the last year specifically, has been just a lot of more of a mental connection with my body spiritually throughout my workouts, throughout my training. And I've had that for a while, but this has been the deepest, if that makes sense, that I've ever been, and that's awesome. And what that meant for me is yes, there was actually weight training, but it wasn't, the heavy weight that I lifted before. Not that I lifted heavy before, but it's just a lot lighter, if that makes sense. A lot more of a focus on the actual movement itself, the movements, and really mentally having a connection with my brain to the actual muscle itself as you go through the repetition, up and down and throughout the sets, and mainly a lot of stretching, a lot of opening up my joints, becoming more limber, becoming more connected with my whole body. I never did that before. I never gave a shit about that stuff before. But now I just feel like that's where my fitness journey is. And just going to the gym in general is just, I feel like it wasn't, I didn't get the pop out of it that I did before, if that makes any sense. Before, I used to go to the gym and I used to leave just naturally high. The endorphins were flowing and serotonin levels were going through the roof. You feel good, you look good, you're in shape, all that stuff. Still feel like that. It's just different now. It's not the home run it was before. Now it's maybe a double, sliding double. And towards the end of summer into the fall, it was just, there wasn't a connection. It was almost like I had to force myself to go to the gym because that was the routine I always had. There just wasn't a connection there. I don't know what the hell that means. And there's been a couple times over the past decade where I've had, injuries and I couldn't train. I had a bad shoulder injury some years back and I was out of the gym for months, and that was extremely difficult for me because it's such a big part of who I am. That was my identification. And when it was taken away, I didn't really know who the hell I was. Now, when I, nursed myself back and through the injury and I got back into the gym, what that time off did for me was it made me really think like, this isn't who you are. It's a good part of what you like to do, but it's not who you are. And that whole process of learning that was extremely difficult. A bunch of shit came with that, man. Just the depression, anxiety, all kinds of crap. That was a couple years ago, and so since I've been back in the gym, it's just been different all in all. But now the past year, it's been really, really different. I don't really know what the hell that means either. It seems as if I'm in between with a lot of things, spiritually, physically. That's pretty much what this past year, 2019, has been. Just a whole lot of new things, and it's been a struggle sometimes because there are some things that I always had part of me that I really enjoyed that it doesn't seem like they're supposed to be there with me, at least not as much as they previously were. And sometimes that can be hard because those are things that you like. Those are things that you enjoy. But when you try to work against the natural way of things, whether it be the universe or whether it be God, nature kind of pulling you in a different way, when you kind of go against that grain, it's really bumpy. For me, it was really, really bumpy. The gym I just explained was one of them. If I don't go for a week now, I am kind of like, but it's more like I'm okay with that. Never thought I'd freaking say that. Now, I've still trained people this past year, still made up programs for people. The whole Better Bodies thing was still there, but it was just the fitness for me in 2019 was just a little bit different. Don't really know where the hell that's going to go either. I think it's always going to be part of who I am. It's a part. It's not the big part. It's a part. That's kind of what this past year and a little bit of 18 was as well. It's just stepping back and looking at myself and the parts of me, maybe shifting things around a little bit and adding some things, taking some things out and adding more things. The discovery of all those new things. It's kind of what this past year has been for me. It's been really confusing at times. There's been times where I just kind of wanted to climb the tallest building and just, superfly snooker right off the top floor. Serious. I'm sorry if that was a little insensitive, but it's kind of, it did. Some things kind of took me right up to the edge. And it's just like, fuck. But I've learned to kind of breathe those things away and kind of embrace the not knowing. But it can be confusing, it can be depressing, it can be very freaking lonely. Those are some things that I struggle with. I've always struggled with depression over the years. And when you have a lot of time to yourself, like this year has been for me, those things seem to be there, kind of knocking on the door as much as possible, because you're by yourself, you're alone a lot, you have time to think, and with those idle hands comes all that crap. So it's been challenging. There's been certain days where it was just like I didn't want to get out of bed. I was just very mentally overwhelmed. Screw off, world. I'm going to stay curled up here in bed. Other days, it's just like you got the world by the ass. on a downhill pull. Everything is great. You look good. You feel good. You're connecting with people. You have good conversations, good text messages going on that day. Good plan for the week moving forward. Some good feelings like that. And then again, like a light switch, it could be the opposite. That was 2019 for me. A lot of figuring things out. A lot of in between for me. For Brian, has been in between. Spiritually, physically, mentally. I'm really excited to move forward into this new year, into this new decade, to see what opportunities will present themselves, what will happen as far as all the things that are on my plate. So it should be interesting. I am definitely curious to know what's going to unfold. And I wish the best for everybody out there. My original intent, this is actually my second go round at this video. The previous one was about 20 some minutes long, and it was more of me bitching about some things that kind of stunk about this past year. And I was like, recorded it, and I watched it, and I made a cup of coffee. I'm like, that sucks. Don't put that out there. It was raw. It was real. But it wasn't something that I wanted to project the last day of this year. So this is round 2. I feel like this one was a lot better. Ironically enough, the sun is now out. The previous clip, the first one, it was dingy and dreary, which is what I started to bitch about, but the sun came out, so I feel better about this one. So that was 2019 for me. Lots of new discoveries, me embracing the things that have just been different from me, some disconnections, and some new connections, just kind of learning to embrace those things, and really being thankful for the people that have been in my life this year. Some very, very awesome people that have kind of helped me on this, I don't want to say new path, but my current path. Some really great friends that are kind of sort of in the same season, I guess, to where they've been available for me to kind of bounce ideas off of, and they gave me great feedback. And there's also were people that gave me kind of like negative things, not really negative, but things that were just like, well, you should be doing this and you should do that. And I'm like, thanks for your feedback. I'll take that, chew on that as well. So thanks for that too. But that was 2019 for me. And it all in all, it was very, very good. There were some difficult times, and there will be difficult times, but that's just an opportunity for me to grow. Easy to say that now. Sometimes, when you're feeling the weight of the world, that's the last thing you really want to hear. You know it, but you don't really want to hear it. Even when your friends are like, well, you just need to kind of keep going and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's it, guys. That's all I got. Kept it under 25 minutes. I really wish that everybody has a safe night tonight. Has a good time with friends, family, but moreover, just be extremely safe. Watch your driving, watch your boozing. And that's the end of 2019 for me. So, with that said, if anybody made it through these 24 minutes, wow, can't believe it. But thanks for hearing me, guys. Again, have a good night, and we will see you next year. God, I hate it when people said that, but we'll see you next year. Have a good night, guys, and that's it. I'm gonna enjoy my cup of coffee, blue cup. That's it. See ya.